Rejection, our favorite topic. Who doesn't love rejection, especially first thing in the morning? Or, well, I guess it's now lunchtime, depending on where you are. Dishing it out, taking it, what the science has to say about it. Clients, staff, referral partners, broker owners, agents of yours, etc. Rejection, rejection, rejection. It's all around us. It's all around us. This segment will be the most difficult in a few different ways. It's really, really hard to overcome some of the ways that I think we're programmed when it comes to rejection, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it, and I hope you will too. This is an absolute truth. This is a truth. We see it in our own clients' lives. Just think about the last client you were working with going through a separation or a divorce. Conflict interrupts profit. It just does. Anytime you get into any kind of conflict, from an argument while you're driving down the highway, flipping the bird at somebody because they cut you off or whatever nonsense you're worrying about, it doesn't matter, all the way to the bigger things in life, conflict interrupts profit. So conflict is to be avoided at all costs. I'm a very low conflict to no conflict kind of guy. I have a temper. It flares up once in a while. I got a pretty good voice. I can yell with the best of them, but I don't, because there's no percentage in it. There's no value derived from that. So the internal challenge a lot of times is I don't want someone to get one over on me. So there's a lot of different moments I find where I think about this, and it's like, well, is 1 in 10 or 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 people gonna feel like they put one over on me? If I do this thing for this client, are they gonna feel like they got the better of me somehow? Well, I try and approach life in sort of a palms up way, not a palms open, pardon me, and a palms up, not a palms up way. And those of you who tuned into some of the DW dailies remember my palms up one, right? Like back up. That was conflict. And I allowed that to flare up in my life in that moment in the grocery store, and that was really silly. It was really silly. I should have just let that go, right? For the 1 in 10 that you worry about, though, there's the other 9. And the other 9, they love me. So when I do something a certain way, and someone might feel like they're taking advantage or they're winning or whatever it is, I don't care, because I did it for the other 9. I did it the way I did it so that it would be low barrier, low pressure, it would feel easy, it would be good, whatever it was. I'm trying to make things in my orbit, in my life, as easy as possible. And does that create an opportunity for somebody to take advantage somehow? Maybe. And if they do, that's their thing. That's a them thing, not a me thing. My goal is to cultivate my constituency, right? Life is about the other 9, not the 1, right? The 9 raving fans, not the 1 outlier. So avoid decisions that upset the 9 who love you to appease the 1 that doesn't. And that comes to making exceptions on policies and procedures. Don't do it. And it's interesting how often we'll make an exception for sort of that difficult person, you know, because we don't want to reject them. But as I say, we'll dig deeper into this. Now, part 1 of this conversation is being rejected. So when someone rejects us, what does this look like? Well, it's gonna hurt. And the science actually says, no, really, it's gonna hurt. Here's the crazy thing. A bad breakup, a bad emotional experience with somebody where you're feeling rejection lights up the same parts of the brain as banging your knee on the corner of the coffee table or having a headache or another significant pain, to the point that actually taking a couple of Advil helps with rejection. That's unbelievable, but it's true. Now, of course, if those Advil were sugar pills in an Advil bottle, it would probably also work, placebo effect. But that's pretty interesting science, I thought. So ultimately, when someone is rejecting you, don't argue with them. Don't debate. Don't pursue being right. You know, worrying about being right, it's like an awful hobby. It's a weird competition that nobody wins in anyways. Nobody really wins. Did you really win the argument? Nobody wins an argument. Just walk away, just stop. Accept. You're right. You know they're not right, but just say they're right. Because on being righteous, you know, on being rightness, AKA being righteous, this is, again, just not a winning approach to life. Being right runs the risk of assigning blame. I mean, it doesn't run the risk. It's about assigning blame. And there is no percentage in assigning blame. Just fix the problem. If we're talking about this from a client perspective, and you're getting into an argument with a client, why argue with them? Just fix whatever it is that's required to get the file funded. When a client rejects you by saying, we're going to the bank's offered us a better deal, a better this, a better that, don't get defensive. Don't argue with them. Say, no problem. I understand. I will be here if you need me. I had a broker email me the other day asking about what their liability would be if they canceled a commitment because the client was going back to the bank. I'm like, why would you cancel the opportunity to get paid? Well, there's no opportunity. They're leaving me. They think they're leaving you. They think they're leaving you. And the more you roll out a luxurious red carpet along their heels as they walk away from you, the better an opportunity they can turn around and step onto that nice plush carpet and walk on back to you. But if you just slam the door behind them and curse at them as they go, they're not coming back because they're gonna feel like they did something wrong. Yeah, they did something wrong, but you don't want them to feel like that. You want them to come back because what did you get out of bed this morning for? You got out of the bed this morning to interact, to get paid. That was the whole point. So take the high road, take the high road. Never cancel a commitment, always take the high road and let the clients know you'll be there for them. Now, incidentally, strategically, I'm gonna digress real quick here, but strategically, what could you do in this instance? When that client says, we're going back to the bank, they got us a better rate, it's 0.5% better, first off, you can dollarize that, work it out, work the math out. 0.05% on the mortgage probably doesn't represent anywhere near your entire commission, probably represents about 20 basis points. So there's room. Now, you don't want to play the back and forth game. So you kind of want to come back one time, and you want to come back strong enough that the bank isn't going to then come down a little bit as well. So in my opinion, there's no such thing as a buy down. There's no such thing as a buy down, and you would never tell a client you bought a rate down, because then you've just let them know you had the power all along to bring the rate down, but you didn't use it because you were trying to juice it and make a little extra money off them. But now you're okay with making less money. Don't bring money into the equation. Never talk about your commission, ever, with a client. The client does not care. Your commission is a you thing. Their mortgage is a them thing. How much you're getting paid doesn't matter. You want proof? I'm based in BC. In BC, we have to dollarize the exact commission amount on a document and put it in front of our clients. They see to the penny how much money we make. And you know what the size of mortgages that happen in the Vancouver market are. These clients literally see a document saying that their broker, the gross commission paid, is going to be $11,000, $15,000, $17,000. And what do you think happens? Whatever you're thinking beyond nothing is wrong. Nothing happens. This was a mountain when it was announced. It's a molehill in real life. Clients don't care. They don't care about you and your money. They don't. They care about them and their money. That's what they care about, and they don't see your commission as their money. They see that as their money. So don't talk about that. So if they're leaving, you may want to give them a little time. You know what? Give me 24 hours. Give me 48 hours to have a conversation with the lender. Let them know what's happened here and see what I can do. You know what you can do, but this is, again, strategically the way you want to handle this. Let a day go by. Come back to the client and say, the lender has put a lot of effort into this file, and they don't want to lose you, and neither do I. So the lender, I've leaned on them, I have a really great relationship with them, or maybe it's a new lender. Maybe, you know what, actually this new lender just came out with this new rate, this new product, et cetera, and we don't want to lose you. So here's what we're going to be able to do. Now, what are you actually doing? You're implementing a buy down. Do not tell them. Make it about the lender. Don't make it about you. They don't care about you. Nobody thinks you've, fallen on your sword for them or done something so special for them. The worst thing I think someone can say is, well, normally I get paid X, but now I'm going to do this for you for Y. Like, I don't want to hear that. Neither do you, and neither does your client. So like I say, if the client says they're going to go somewhere else, take the high road, but then find a way to bring them back in. So don't ever cancel a commitment. Being right is a you thing, right? Being right is a you thing. Nobody cares. Nobody really cares if you're right or I'm right. No one cares. The only thing you should care about is the client. And like I say, the clients, they care about them things. Do be deferential, do be agreeable, and then be referred. That's ultimately what's going to happen. So should you work this file for low dollars to no dollars? Yeah, you should, especially if you're in the early days. Because what are you building? You're building a database, right? And even in the later days, is there the odd file that you should work for $0? Yes, there is, because what are you doing? You're maintaining your database. You're maintaining relationships. So yeah, as I say, it's really easy to go into rant mode or I was wronged mode, and now you will hear me roar. There's no percentage in that. There's no future in that. There's nothing in that for you. That sense of satisfaction does not pay the bills, all right? So when there's a problem, fix it fast. Find a way to save the situation. Don't raise your voice. Don't argue. Don't assign blame. And if they're coming at you and rejecting you, at some point, maybe you just have to accept it and say, you're right, I'm sorry, I accept that, I'll be here next time around. Why do we vent? Why do we rant? Because it really does feel great. I mean, up on that high horse, whoa, it's a good feeling, right? I mean, we enjoy rants. It's like our favorite scene in movies, or the big rants, the big speeches. We love that, and we just look for an opportunity to give our own, right? And it's the same thing. It feels so good. And are you right? Maybe you are. But does anybody care? Is being right an Olympic sport? I don't think it's a candidate for the Olympics. I don't think it's happening. And again, the key question you've got to keep in mind here is, would you rather be right or be paid? Because very rarely can you have both when conflict erupts. You can be right and you get no paycheck. Or you can, you were right, but you can let them think they were right, and then you get paid. I don't know. Right doesn't pay the mortgage. Right doesn't buy you that Tesla. Right doesn't send your kids to college. Right doesn't pay the bills. Being paid pays the bills. So the daily practice, I would say, when it comes to dealing with rejection and conflict, is start by letting go of the small stuff and realizing it's all small stuff. Let go of these opportunities to complain to the manager, all right? To call somebody out, to right a wrong on social media in particular. Just let go of that. It's a waste of your energy, which, as we discussed yesterday, not a lot of. It's a finite thing, right? 2010, I'm in IKEA. I'm standing in line, and the person in front of me is wrapped in knots. They're just, they keep looking back at me, like, it's like, I'll give you the real, they're like, can you believe this? And I'm like, sorry, like, what are you upset about? She's like, I've been here like 10 minutes. I said, yeah, I know, but we're gonna get a hot dog and a pop for $1. And that poor kid back there, he looks like he's about 17 years old. He's probably getting paid about $8 an hour. She was like, oh, you think that's all he gets paid? I'm like, yeah, probably, to deal with a bunch of grumpy people who didn't want to come to IKEA on a Saturday morning. And then she kind of laughed. She's like, oh, well, I hadn't thought about it that way. But it was like, why be grumpy and why ruin someone's day? I mean, you're getting a hot dog and a pop for $1. 2020, just little anecdotes that I wanted to share real quick with you, because there are opportunities where you can be grumpy, but where does it get you? In 2020, I sold an apartment and I rented an apartment. And when I moved into the new rental, they just didn't have time to get it cleaned. The landlord, it's his place, and he's moved out, but he didn't have time to get the cleaners in, but he could get them there in a few days. Would that be okay? Yeah, no, that wouldn't be okay. I got my own solution for that. It's called Google, and I found a cleaning company that could come within an hour. They popped in, 3 of them, just incredible, like blazed through the place, erased all existence, all evidence of this other guy's previous existence, and it was great. It felt comfortable and nice, and it cost $300. Now, I could have gone back to the landlord and said, hey man, that cost $300. Can you please, credit me back? I'm gonna bill you, blah, 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 blah. Why? To what end? And then it turns into this little debate and argument. It isn't worth it. Now I'm in the middle of a situation where I've finally got the keys to the new house. I've been in it for about 15 minutes because I haven't had time to go up there and do a thing for the past 3 weeks. But there's a laundry list of real issues, not little tiny nitpicky things, like genuine, like, do we need to replace all the tiles in the master bath? Probably. Do we need to replace the island? Yeah. It's like whatever the stain is that's in there, it's not coming out. Probably. So there's an opportunity for lots of conflict. There's an opportunity for a lot of frustration. But where's it all going to wind up? Why get into it? I'm just going to stay calm and let it play out the way it plays out. Like getting argumentative, not going to get me anywhere. Getting up on a high horse, not going to get me anywhere. It's like the tiles are the tiles. What are we going to do about it? Calling people out. Why? Just don't. Like, what are you, the world police? You see this on Facebook, you see it on, not so much on Instagram, but you certainly see it on Facebook. Just don't. It's just, and again, when you get called out, just don't engage, right? Why? I mean, why reject the ideas of other people? Why argue with them? You're rejecting them. What's the point? And when you put a post out there and then someone starts rejecting you in the comments section, at this point, I just delete the post. And then I unfriend and block the person because I don't need that in my orbit, right? There's a lot of us through the pandemic who have discovered the block delete button in Facebook. We'd never blocked or deleted anybody until things got a little weird over the past couple of years. And at this point, some of us have blocked and deleted dozens of people. I've talked to a few people who've actually blocked and deleted hundreds of people. So, just keep your environment a little simpler. And that's one way of avoiding dealing with rejection, is just not even having to have it happen, because it is a minute-by-minute experience on social media. It really is. And as I said, what is time, right? Time is energy, and what's your energy worth, right? Time equals energy, and that energy is finite, so where are you going to invest it? Let things go. Don't be argumentative. Invest your energy wisely. Now, I'd almost call it like the rope-a-dope. You might take a few hits, but you try and let the ropes absorb them, right? Try and let the deep breaths absorb them. Just let it go, because it's not worth putting your energy into. Measure the cost, right? Drop your principles, conserve your energy. I'm not saying totally drop your gloves, but drop your principles and conserve your energy. There's a lot of interesting exchanges I've had with brokers over the years on principles. It's the principle. I know of a broker who took a client to small claims court over a $300 appraisal. He sued the clients for $300. They will never forget him, ever, in their life. And they will tell that story with his full name in that story for the rest of their lives. And he's not in that big of a community. So why? Why? Well, it was the principle. I suspect that principle has cost him $30,000. Probably more. Probably more. It doesn't take much, right? That principle over the life of his career could cost him $300,000. which if he's incorporated, that really adds up. So principles, be really cautious. When you hear the words, it's the principle. That's why I'm being argumentative. That's why I'm not accepting what they're throwing my way. When you hear those words, it's the principle of it come out of your mouth, you know you got a problem. Dustin, you don't understand. It's the principle, right? This tells me that you don't have your eye on the ball. You don't. You do not have your eye on the ball. Life is resistance. It's all about overcoming resistance, but also just avoiding it and letting it go. Yes, they're wrong. Yes, you're right. Sure, they should give you the $300 back for the appraisal. Why would you make a court case? I was going to say a federal case. Why would you make a court case out of that? What a colossal waste of energy. And who are you that that's what fills you up and satisfies you? This is like, you should reinvest that time in therapy, not in taking people to court. By the way, on the topic of going to court, never, ever, ever sue anybody unless it's for a six-figure amount. It's just a waste of time, the exception being a very, very clear-cut situation that you can handle through small claims court without having to pay a lawyer, and you know, it's the right thing, and it's probably going to be straightforward and a slam dunk. But otherwise, you get into these really sticky battles, and the amount of energy they suck out of your life is significantly more than the financial reward. You would have been more productive, and you would have made that money times 10 in a lot of cases. In particular, on like a 50,000, something out of small claims court, but under 100. So what is it, like 40,000 to 100,000? That zone is just crazy town. You're into like a 4-year, 5-year protracted battle. Who are you? Like, who cares? You know who you are? You're somebody who's in a business where you can make $50,000 in the next 3 months. You take the energy that you were going to put into that court situation, let it go, put it into your business, you'll make the money back in no time. So principles, again, do not pay the bills. They don't. I remember another situation where a broker and the realtor were trying to get the buyer and the seller together to make this whole thing happen, and they were literally $1,000. The buyer and the seller were hung up on the principle of it. It related to the home inspection. It was a $1,000 item on a $600,000 purchase, but this $1,000 item meant something to the buyer and to the seller, and neither would budge. And the realtor said to the broker, how about we split it? Let's throw $500 each in and solve the problem. Luckily, the realtor had a fully functioning brain in his head. The broker said, no way, on principle, I'm not paying for part of their house. What is wrong with you? It's a $500,000 mortgage. You're gonna get paid $5,000 gross commission on, and you're not gonna kick $500 in to save it and get it done. And this was right at the point of one of the rule changes, and this buyer would not be able to buy a week later because of the way the rules were changing. So it had to happen or they weren't buying anything. So it wasn't even like he was gonna get paid on the next one. Like that buyer was not gonna be closing on anything if they didn't close on this one, which luckily the realtor saw it, the realtor got it. How many referrals do you think that realtor sent that broker? None. None. For the sake of $500. And the client knew the whole story. The client knew who the hero was. And so how many referrals do you think the client gave that broker? None. That broker's no longer brokering, but you know, as I say, they have their principles. They have their principles. You can do it. Just take it like a champ, you know? Rocky didn't win the first one. Okay, like he won every sequel after that, but that was Hollywood. The first one was legit, right? He got in the ring, he took a beating, he didn't win. He didn't win. But to be fair, as I say, he won every fight after that. Rocky won all the rest of them. You gotta stay in the game. And like I say, don't pretend rejection is painless. It's not, it hurts. Accept that it's painful. It is, it hurts, but don't lash out at anybody. Learn to process the pain and understand this is a false narrative, right? It's a fictional character in a fictional movie, and that line is bullshit. It's always personal in business. There's no such thing as business being just business. Business is an interpersonal relationship. Business is an interpersonal relationship, pardon me. It's an interpersonal interaction. That's what I was looking for. Business is deeply personal. You have a deeply personal connection with your clients, with your referral partners, with your broker's owner, with the manager, with your agents. You have a deeply personal relationship with everybody around you. It's always personal, always. So never underestimate, as we move towards giving rejection, how a person is going to react when you reject them. Because we've just been talking about how you react, right? When someone says to you, oh, it's not personal, how does that feel? Does it make you feel better about the whole thing? Not so much. When a client leaves you, you're not feeling real great. And believe me, if you leave the brokerage you're working with, that broker owner, they're not going to think it's just business either. They're going to take it personally. I mentioned yesterday at the beginning of the session, somebody had their email turned off at midnight the night before. I know that person. They're a wonderful human being. They're a kind soul. They're a good person. And probably the person they've worked with for a number of years is also a good person. But they took it personally when this person said they wanted to move on. It's not just business. It's never just business, all right? It's always personal. It's always personal, it's 100% emotional, and it's the same on the flip side, which is where we're heading. And so like I say, never push on the why. Never push on the why. What do you mean that's your reason? Don't argue with the reason they give you. Don't ask them for another reason. It's 100% personal, it's 100% emotional, and avoid the why trap. Don't get into the why conversation. There's nothing to be found there. There's no resolution. It's happening, you're getting rejected. See if you can strategically find a way to avoid it, but come out of it on the high side, because what do you want to win? You want to win the argument or the client. You can't win both, right? And I think you know what you want to win in the long run here. So be calm. This is not a battle. This is not Sparta, all right? Be calm. Take the hit, all right? I know you had a plan. Everything was going to plan. Everything was good. You were going to make your payments this month because this mortgage was going to fund, and now they're leaving you in the 11th hour. I know, you had a plan, but it's not as bad as you think. So avoid the panic button and think it through, because every problem is actually an opportunity. Time, right? Your response, time it. It's like a fine wine, so just pause. It will be better with age. Time matters. Don't react instantly. Take a step back, absorb. Don't reply. Open a new email, and type your response in this new email to yourself. All right? And don't put the caps lock key on, just like calm down, but type it all out to yourself. Send it to yourself, read it in the morning. A couple other techniques. Mix maximum agreement into the response, all right? See, I paused there for a second too. I was like, what are we gonna mix in here? Mix in maximum agreement into your response. You want to agree with as much, it's like they say the best lies have the most truth in them, right? They're truthy. It's not a truth, it's truthy, right? Same thing with a response to somebody rejecting you. The more you can agree with what they're saying, you're right, that is a better rate. You're right, that product has some advantages and features over it. You're right, I should have considered that in advance. You're absolutely right. The next word is not but. That's another word to try and stop using, right? Almost every sentence I start with the word but, I realize actually works better with and. You're right, but. No. You're right, and I'm gonna try harder. I'm not gonna give up just yet. I understand why you wanna leave me, but I'm not gonna give up just yet. I think I might have a way to save this. Don't do battle with the client. Do battle for the client. You want to win what, right? You want to win arguments, you want to win business. I know that's redundant, I'm hammering that message through, but seriously. And like I say, that struggle, you'll sometimes think to yourself, am I weak here? Am I rolling over? Why am I not fighting back? I'm supposed to fight back. Am I a flake? No, you're on the high road. And you're like, well, why is it so lonely up here? Because that's not where a lot of people spend a lot of their time, right? And I understand that you're under immense pressure, right? That right there is actually a key point you might want to write down. That's a good sentence to have in your response. You understand your clients are under immense pressure and they're trying to make the right decision for their family at this time. That's a big deal. Do you understand? No, you're just pissed off. They're leaving you. Why aren't they working with me? Where's the loyalty gone? I love that line. Where's the loyalty? What are you talking about? The loyalty. So you had like a 1-hour Zoom call, you got a bunch of their docs, you worked a file, you maybe talk with them for another hour, half hour on the phone, and now they're just breaking up with you, just like that. Like, what did you think? They were gonna walk down the aisle and marry you? Is that how it worked out for you in dating life? Come on. Where's the loyalty gone? Give me a break. What have you actually done for these people? It's not about you, it's the situation. And as often the situation you're totally unaware of. You're totally unaware of. Now that is just handling rejection. That's a rejection coming your way.